Forget everything you think you know about gladiators. Seriously, toss those Hollywood fantasies of chiseled ABs and heroic last stands right out the window. Because if you truly were a gladiator in ancient Rome, your life would be less Spartacus leading a rebellion and more human cattle waiting for slaughter with a surprisingly good dental plan. Intrigue. Good. Because today, we're diving headfirst into the brutal, often absurd, reality of a Roman gladiator. And let me tell you, it's not pretty. Not at all. Alright, let's set the scene. It's the year 100 AD, maybe 158. Rome is at its peak, a sprawling metropolis of 1 million souls, give or take a few million slaves. And you're probably not a strapping, free-born Roman citizen who just decided to become a gladiator because you fancied a bit of a challenge. Oh no, sweet summer child. The vast majority of gladiators were slaves, prisoners of war, or condemned criminals. Condemned criminals? Let that sink in. So, congratulations, you've likely just been captured after some skirmish in Gaul, or perhaps you displeased a local senator by breathing too loudly. Either way, your prospects are looking sandy and bloody. You are now property, a commodity, and your new owner, likely a wealthy Roman seeking political clout or just a good old-fashioned gruesome spectacle, sees you as an investment, a fighting machine, not a human being. Your name doesn't matter. Your past, irrelevant. All that matters is your potential to entertain them, and by entertain I mean die spectacularly. This isn't a career choice, it's a death sentence with a very short, very violent probation period. So you've been bought and now what? You're off to the Ludus Gladiator school. Think of it as a combination of a maximum security prison, a gym run by a drill sergeant with anger issues, and a surprisingly advanced medical facility. Yeah, that last part is often overlooked. But if you're valuable, your owner wants to keep you alive and healthy enough to fight again. And again. And again. The Lanista is your new boss. He's the guy who bought you, trains you, and profits from your blood, sweat, and tears. He's not your friend. He's not your mentor. He's essentially a talent agent for death. Life in the Ludus is brutally disciplined. You'll be living in cramped, often unsanitary cells, chained at night. Your diet, surprisingly good, actually. Lots of barley, beans, and dried fruit. Turns out, a vegetarian diet was common, giving gladiators a layer of fat for protection against cuts. So much for the lean, mean, fighting machine. Look, more like the lean, mean, slightly chunky fighting machine. Imagine the disappointment of the Roman crowd when they realize their heroes are basically fighting vegans with swords. Training is relentless. You'll start with wooden weapons, learning the basics of combat. Each gladiator type has specific armor and weaponry, and you'll be assigned one based on your physique in the Lanissus assessment, a Myrmillo with his heavy shield and gladius, perhaps, or Aretiarius with his net and trident, nimble and exposed. Whatever your role, you'll practice endlessly, day in and day out, honing your skills, not just to kill, but to perform, because it's a show. Remember, a gory, life or death reality show, and the audience demands a good plot twist. All right, the big day arrives. You're led into the arena, perhaps the Colosseum itself. A structure so magnificent it screams, "Come get your entertainment, you bloodthirsty barbarians." You're wearing your designated gear, which, by the way, is heavy, hot, and probably smells like a combination of stale, sweat, fear, and last week's barley stew. Forget shining armor. This is functional, often grotesque, Beto attire. The roar of the crowd, estimated to be between 50,000 and 80,000 people in the Colosseum alone, is deafening. They're not there to cheer for you specifically, unless you've somehow become a fan favorite, which is rare. They're there for the spectacle, for the thrill of the kill, for the raw, unadulterated violence, and for the betting, of course. Lots of betting. These aren't just fights. They're public executions dressed up as sports. The fights are often short, brutal affairs. No fancy choreographed moves, just raw instinct and honed training. The goal isn't necessarily to kill your opponent immediately, but to incapacitate them, to make them bleed, to drag out the suffering for the crowd's enjoyment. It's a dance with death, where the choreography is improvised, and the stakes are your actual life. And if you're lucky enough to survive, you get to do it all over again. Because nothing says job security like a cheering mob demanding more blood. Part 2, the glamorous aftermath and the business of death. The fight is over. You've either won, lost, or perhaps, in a rare turn of events, earned a draw. If you've won, congratulations. You get to live another day. Maybe you even get a laurel wreath, a small monetary prize, and the adoration of a few dozen fanatical followers, and a really good massage from the Ludus masseuse probably. Your wounds, however, are real and brutal. Roman medicine, though surprisingly advanced for its time, thanks Galen, wasn't magic. Infections were common, and even a minor cut could be a death sentence. If you lost but fought bravely, the crowd might give you a thumbs up. Literally, pollis verso, thumb turned. This meant your life might be spared, but it was entirely up to the whims of the crowd and, ultimately, the emperor or the game's sponsor. One wrong move, one moment of perceived cowardice, and that thumb could turn down, signaling your execution. A swift sword to the throat or a spear through the chest. Game over. No bonus rounds. Gladiators, despite their grim profession, were often seen as sex symbols by Roman women, much like modern rock stars. Their sweat was even collected and sold as an aphrodisiac and cosmetic. Imagine explaining that to your therapist. Yes, I'm attracted to the scent of fear and barley. Their images appeared on lamps, mosaics, and graffiti. They were famous. Yes, but famous in the way a prize-winning pig is famous at a county fair, admired for their attributes, destined for the chopping block. Freedom, or manumission, was the ultimate prize. If a gladiator performed exceptionally well, consistently winning and entertaining, they might be granted a wooden sword rudies as a symbol of their freedom. But this was rare, exceedingly rare. Most gladiators fought for years. If they survived that long, accumulating wounds and scars until their bodies simply gave out, they were machines for entertainment, and once broken, they were discarded. The average gladiator probably didn't last more than a few fights. A career of 3 to 5 years was considered long and successful. Part 3. The shady business behind the sand and your demise. This entire spectacle, this blood sport, was big business. For the linista, who owned you, for the emperors who hosted the games to win public favor, and for the myriad of merchants selling food, drinks, and souvenirs like miniature gladiatorial helmets. Outside the arena, it was a massive industry built on human suffering. You were just a cog in this very, very bloody machine. Even if you managed to survive countless battles, achieve freedom, and retire, what then? You'd be scarred, likely suffering from chronic pain, and probably traumatized. Your skills were in killing, not exactly transferable to a peaceful civilian life. Some might become trainers in the Ludus, perpetuating the cycle of violence. Others might try to make a living, but with a body broken by years of combat, prospects were slim. Freedom wasn't a golden ticket. It was often just a less painful way to fade into obscurity. The truth is, being a gladiator was a brutal, short, and often meaningless existence. It was about power, spectacle, and control. It was about reminding the Roman populace of the hierarchy, of the vast difference between the privileged citizen and the disposable slave, and your role in it all was simply to bleed, to fight, and to die for the amusement of others. Talk about a thankless job. At least modern reality TV stars get paid more. So, what if you were a gladiator in ancient Rome? You wouldn't be a hero. You wouldn't be a legend. You'd be a forgotten face in a sea of blood and sand, a pawn in a brutal game. You'd be a walking, breathing, disposable entertainment unit. Your life would be dictated by the whims of your owner, the roar of the crowd, and the sharp edge of an opponent's blade. It's a stark reminder that while Hollywood likes to romanticize the past, reality was often far grimmer, far dirtier, and far more unjust. So next time you complain about your boss, your commute, or your terrible Wi-Fi, just remember, at least you're not about to face a murder.